One simple question has remained unanswered despite the fact that we're in our second hour. Why would Minnesota terminate the emergency powers of its executive when 49 of 50 states have not? Why would Minnesota tell its governor emergency powers are not appropriate when the President of the United States is exercising emergency powers? What makes Minnesota so different that we must eliminate the emergency powers? Vote no on the resolution, retain the emergency powers, and be prepared. Now, why should we be prepared? Well, we have governors of both Democrats and Republicans across the state. If you recall our definition of emergency powers, it was an act that requires immediate action. We need to be nimble. We need the executive to be ready to act. No disrespect to our legislature, but it's not the speediest device ever created. We've made a lot of jokes here about the governor's executive powers, most of them behind the scenes in the last few months. But let's talk about some serious facts. The governor of Texas reversed himself in 72 hours on bar closings and mask wearing. Think about that, members. 72 hours, and a Republican governor said, I have to take action right now, and it was 180 degrees of what he said he would do just 3 days earlier. If the governor of Minnesota doesn't have that power, who knows how long it'll take the Minnesota legislature to act. Is that a serious matter? You bet it is. Do you know how many obituaries were in the Houston Chronicle on Sunday? 43 pages. The reason we want the governor to have these executive powers is so that we avoid the worst case scenario. And I agree with those members who said we need to err on the side of caution. We have got great results in Minnesota in many ways and by many measures. Thank you to members of both parties for pointing that out. That's good news. That's a sign that we've done some things correctly, and we want to keep on doing them correctly. Finally, the question is, what is it that the legislature lacks that the governor's emergency powers provide us? Well, I would just call attention to some of the most important COVID legislation, CARES Act funding. Could the legislature get it done? No, we couldn't. Look at the housing work that we've done. Could the legislature get it done? No. Both those items could have been done by the legislature, and they weren't. And for that, I think a lot of Minnesotans are saying, yeah, I don't really know if I like the speed and the work product coming out of that legislature right now. Now we'll grant members of both parties this unique characteristic. We're a divided legislature. Other states don't necessarily have one chamber in one party's hands and one in the other. And that's just the hand we're dealt, and we'll do fine with it. But a better decision here today is to allow the governor to maintain the emergency powers until we can reach an agreement about how to move forward. And if we never have bad news on our hospitalizations and our intensive care and our fatalities, that'd be a good thing for Minnesota. And all of us, including the governor, would be able to pat ourselves on the back and say we did the best we could with the situation we had. Finally, I do hear some things said about our governor, Tim Walz, and I'd just like to point out to members who talk about us as an elected body, that governor was elected too. The difference between the governor's election and each one of our elections is that each one of us was elected by a single Senate district. He was elected by the people of the entire state of Minnesota, and that's an election that counts for us too. Thank you, Mr. President.